These are the best interview questions to ask when hiring a new candidate for your business. These are my favorite questions to find out what your candidate is really all about. These 5 questions fall out of the scope of the usual questions you need to ask, such as, have you researched about my company and what we do? Why are you looking for a new opportunity? Example of working in a team. Example of leading a team. Tell me about a time you had too many things on your plate and you had to prioritize. So these are common questions that you probably already know. But these 5 questions, they're special. Now, before I jump into these 5 questions, remember that an ideal answer from all candidates follow a certain structure that I implement in my recruiting agency, which is the STAR method. Situation, what was the situation? Task, what did the candidate had to do? Action, what did the candidate actually do? And result, what was the result from the action that the candidate took? So bear this in mind and let's get into the questions. Question number 1. Tell me about a time where you successfully dealt with another person or colleague even though that person personally didn't like you, or vice versa. This question is brilliant and you ask it because it tests your candidate's interpersonal skills, emotional intelligence, and how they handle work without getting emotions involved. You're looking for examples that demonstrate their ability to work effectively despite personal differences, a critical skill to have in a growing team. For these questions, I'm gonna lay out what a good answer looks like, what a bad answer looks like, and then what a great answer would look like. A good answer is the candidate is able to describe a specific situation where they actually had someone not liking them or they don't like a certain someone or colleague personally, but they set aside their differences to reach the ultimate goal or the team goal. They need to highlight the steps that they took to address the issue directly or indirectly while still resulting in a positive outcome for the team. A bad answer would be the candidate give vague and non-specific responses. They focus on the other person's faults, why they don't like them, instead of reflecting on their own actions and what they learned from the experience. That's a bad answer. A great answer would include the candidate providing the context, what their role was, what the task was, what the action was, and what the result was. Star. They would have demonstrated self-awareness, empathy, and the ability to navigate challenges even though there were personal feelings involved. You need to ask this in the HR questions part of the interview and make sure your candidate understands you're looking for real-life examples that actually happen. You should be neutral, professional, and make sure that the candidate won't feel judged for whatever situation they will tell you. This is especially important if you're looking for candidates that will be involved in a team. Question number 2. Can you think of a specific example that you have done to show your employer that you're more than the average employee? I love this question because it will unearth whether they're an initiative person, whether they've actually done this before, or whether they actually care. A good answer will involve the candidate answering an example where they took on additional responsibilities, solved a complex problem, or actually stepped up and solved a significant problem in the company. A bad answer would be just a normal thing that they would have done anyways or were part of their job description. So nothing extra that they did. They only described routine job tasks that were in their scope of work anyways. A great answer would have the candidate looking at an opportunity in their previous company, took proactive steps to address it, and actually achieved a positive and measurable result for the company. So if they mention numbers, if they mention the opportunity, the context, then that would be a great answer. This question is especially important if you're looking for someone to be promoted to a leadership position or if you're looking for employees with a growth mindset. You should be supportive and interested when asking this question so that your candidate will open up about their successes and contributions. By the way, if you're wondering how I know these best interview questions when hiring, my name is Calvin. I'm the founder and CEO of Fullfind.co, and we've placed dozens of remote talent to Fortune 500 companies, Hollywood producers, and 7-figure marketing teams since 2022. So it's safe to say after doing this hundreds of times, we know the best questions to ask when it comes to hiring, especially remote talent. Anyway, the next question is question number 3. Tell me about the most difficult task that you had to learn in your previous job. What steps did you take to make sure you overcame this challenge? I love this question because you can see whether your candidates actually, 1, likes to take on a new challenge, and B, actually has the growth mindset to learn a new skill to overcome that challenge. You're looking how they approach complex tasks, new learning processes, and their determination to succeed. A good answer would have the candidate describing a challenge where they had to acquire new skills or learn new things to complete that task. They detail the steps they took to learn that new thing and the result of applying what they learned. A bad answer will involve them giving vague answers or giving tasks or challenges that were part of their job description anyways. They didn't mention the something new that they had to learn to complete the task, or they just didn't learn anything at all. A great answer would involve the candidate sharing a detailed step-by-step story on how 1, they identified the challenge, B, they identified what skill they needed to learn, C, they shared the story of how they learned that skill, and D, how they actually implemented that skill to achieve the result that they wanted to. That's why it's important to maintain the STAR, STAR structure. This question is particularly useful if you're hiring for a role that needs constant adaptation, constant learnings to new trends. Question number 4. Tell me about the best manager you've ever worked for. Why was he or she a good manager, and what will your ideal leader look like? I love this question because you can find out 2 things. 1, their actual leadership style and what they prefer to see in a leader, and 2, how they view their relationship with their supervisors. Especially useful if you want this person to someday assume a leadership position, or you want to make sure that this person would be a good fit for the supervisor that he will be working under. A good answer would involve the candidate actually outlining specific traits that he or she likes from a manager, such as communication, support, and the leadership style. They will describe their ideal leader that aligns with your company's management approach. A bad answer would be a candidate that only shares their bad or negative experiences without outlining any positive traits that they like. Or if they describe a management style that directly conflicts your company's management style. A great answer would have the candidate actually describing in detail what their previous leaders' traits were, how it actually helped them grow, and how they would use that if they were to assume a leadership position. Again, they would have said to you what their ideal manager looked like and what traits they possess, so that you can align it with what your company actually values as well in the management team. Question number 5, describe a problem that you recently had to solve. What did you do? What alternatives did you consider? So this is important because you will analyze your candidate's critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, and then their actual ability to handle real-world challenges. You're looking for their problem-solving methodology, and you're looking whether they can come up with different scenarios of a problem to make sure they've assessed every possible option before picking a decision. A good answer will have the candidate describe a specific problem, the steps they took to analyze it, and then the solution they implemented. They discuss the alternatives they considered and why they chose what they chose. A bad answer would involve the candidate giving vague answers, didn't outline the problem, and didn't outline the result. They failed to consider alternatives as well, indicating a lack of critical thinking. A great answer would involve the candidate following the STAR structure, which involves the context or the situation, what was the problem or the task they had on hand, what was the action they took into making several different alternatives or scenarios, what was the decision they took, and what was the resulting outcome. They would have demonstrated strategic thinking, creativity, and an ability to explain why they came up with the alternatives and why they settled on that one solution to the problem. Usually candidates that are good problem solvers and critical thinkers, they would be able to explain the situation in a way that it's easy to understand as well. So keep that in mind. And those are the best interview questions to ask when you're hiring. I have no doubt that if you follow everything I've given you in this video to a T, you'll easily be able to screen the right candidates in your interviews. But that begs the question, how do you even find remote talent to interview in the first place? Well, that's why I made this video on screen here, which is a step-by-step guide on how to hire the top 1% overseas talent worldwide. It's the video on screen right now, click it and I'll see you there.